Hello students, and welcome to the session that is referred to as the importance of semester plans and what your semester plan looks like and where you will find your semester plan. Okay, so I'm going to start off with showing you what a semester plan looks like. So I'm using one of my modules, in my case, Strategic Brand Communication, and this is version 3. Why is it version 3? Because navigators are updating them all the time. So they invite guests throughout the semester. There's an ICE task that needs to be moved slightly because there's a public holiday, for example. So these are dynamic because they change all the time. And that's why I always look out on ARC for your versions and make sure and check in with your navigator if you're unsure of something in your semester plan. So it's really important to constantly check your announcements on ARC and of course your emails regularly. So those are the ones that happen through the Vega ARC messaging system. So that's where you contact your navigators for academic support. And remember, so many other options as far as operation support, library support are also available to you on My Emerus. Okay, so this is typically what a semester plan looks like. It will tell you when you start lectures. In my case, I started with my students last week. That's the 9th of February. We had a little module introduction, so it tells you about the theme that we're going to cover. It tells you when our synchronous sessions are. So in other words, what time and day our sessions are, and then what we'll be covering in that particular live session. So in this case, it is all about allocating groups for the assignments. Obviously, I also did my welcome, but just to remind students about allocating their groups for the first group assignment, and then I ran through the assignment and the brief. Very much one-way orientated because it was all about sharing the overview of the module, which is really important. But then what I did is I asked students for next week, what does the term brand mean to you? And why is it important to have a strong brand identity? So these are questions asynchronous that students need to prepare for next week. So in other words, the 16th of the 2nd, which for me, it's the 15th today. Tomorrow, this is what the students will be covering in the session with me. We're going to run through some concepts around developing a brand. So in other words, which learning units, which themes will we be covering. Our time has changed slightly. We're going to 6 o'clock this week, but then this is where your work comes in. And I spoke about the flipped live session. So in other words, the week before, you've been given a task to do ahead of the next live session. And we're going to be using the whiteboard in the session. We're going to be using our mics. And then I've got a few other YouTube videos that I'm integrating, some good examples of good and bad identity and image, the way brands have used it. And then again, in the asynchronous time, I'm asking you to do research based on the term strategy for branding in the following week. And then integrate it again into my session as what is strategy. So it's not me going to, or any of the navigators going to be talking and talking like you do in a lecture room. It's again about you doing that work and having discussion in the next live session. Okay, and so it continues. You will also note that in the right-hand column, there are assessments, okay, which are highlighted in the right-hand column. So when is your first ICE task due? What is it? And reminding you that it's really important that you stick to your ICE task dates. The simple reason is that we pace it so that if we're doing Learning Unit 1, so then you start off with something like related to Learning Unit 1, or in my case, I'm doing a referencing refresher, just so that you're reminded, because I've noticed over the years that even in third year, students are still struggling with the basics of referencing. So this is just a lovely refresher, and it gives you the dates. So it's another reminder of when you have an ICE task deadline. Okay, so the sessions then continue. You can see week 4 is the academic week. It gives you the date, ICE tasks again. And so it continues. Assignment group in this case for my module is the 31st of March, so I don't give ICE tasks around this time. It tells you when they're assessment weeks. So in other words, there'll be no live sessions in those assessment weeks. And the same then applies from weeks 27 April to the 8th of May. And in my case, for strategic brand communication, the individual assignment is due on the 7th of May. And right at the end, we're just awaiting the final date for that module for their exam. Okay, so that is what your semester plan should look like. As I said, it's dynamic and it changes and it adapts to a changing environment constantly. So always look out for your updated semester plans. So I'm going to take you to my module and I'm going to show you. So this is when you go through my MRIS, you go through VegaLink and you come to your particular module. If you want a shortcut to finding your module, you can just click on this little grid. Okay, and in my case, I'm just going to type in 7321 and I've already pinned mine. So we're going back to there. One of the things that I just wanted to point out very quickly is all your announcements are in this right-hand column if you want quick access or shortcut to it. And then just below the announcements is your calendar. And here is also a reminder and a live link that takes you into your live sessions. And these live sessions, ICE task assessment dates are all in your calendar. If you just merely click on it and you click on the link, any of the two links, it will take you directly to your live session. Okay, so I'm just going to go back there. So that calendar on the far right-hand side is really helpful. Okay, so we're on semester plan. So where do you find your semester plan? Under content, under module information, and there you can see in that folder is the module semester plan that I've just gone through. It's my version 3 that I've uploaded. So this is where you will find your semester plan. Okay, and also just in it, because I mentioned the ICE tasks, there's also a folder for ICE tasks. So make sure you check the dates. In my case, this one is due on the 1st of March, and make sure you read all your instructions. Okay, right. So let me come back here, stop sharing. And thank you for your time and best of luck for a wonderful semester. Thank you so much. Take care.